House, built in the 18th century, is the second oldest surviving house in town and holds a very interesting place in United States history. The Executive Council of the Provincial Congress met in the house during the Revolutionary War in 1775 and 1776. George Washington, Paul Revere, and numerous other dignitaries visited, met, and slept there, and for a period of time, the house was also the site of the Massachusetts government. A treaty of alliance and friendship between the United States and the Micmac tribe of St. John's, Nova Scotia, was signed there. When the historically significant house started to fall into disrepair and was condemned by the Watertown Building Department as unsafe for occupancy, Historical Society members Jim Bean, Richard Nigerian, and Jack Zola went to State Senator Stephen Tolman for help. Fast forward to Saturday, when the Historical Society held a grand opening and ribbon-cutting ceremony where residents were invited to participate in the festivities and tour the facility. Here's Nick Gilchinos with more on that story.
Saturday morning, the historical Edmund Fowle House was reopened to the public after almost 5 years of restoration and renovations.
Well, the Edmund Fowle House is the second oldest house in Watertown, and it's a historic house in Watertown. It's the most historic house in Watertown because it's the history of our nation. First international treaty with the Micmac Indians was signed in this home. Now, it wasn't here before. It used to be on Main Street. They moved it down here, I think, in the 1920s, and a family bought it, and the Historical Society bought it shortly after that, I believe, and then we finally were able to, you know, the group was working very hard to raise money, and finally, with some historical state funds, we were able to provide the restoration.
This is a real big, important piece of history to me as a resident and as a public servant here. The preservation of this house is unbelievable, and it was almost to a point where we were afraid that we were going to lose this piece of history here in Watertown.
The house had been in real bad disrepair for many, many years. It got to the point where the town closed it down and condemned it, and we were not allowed in here any longer. So Dick Nigerian and myself and Jack Zola have always been very close and friendly, working with Senator Tolman over the years. And he did find a source of money in the state government, which was $500,000. We thought it was going to really do an awful lot. But when we get in, because of the house itself and the history and the restoration, it's not like building a regular house.
Special craftsmen had to come in and do the work to bring it back to its original state.
The rooms here, this L-shaped upstairs room, was a series of there was a partition over here and a closet, and then there were 2 bathrooms and so forth. And so all of that had been put in later than the period that this was restored to, later than that 18th century period. Some of it was 19th century work, early 19th century work. Others was from the time that the house was moved and made into a duplex rental.
The money disappeared fast because of the cost of all these specialists in the restoration process. Then the $500,000 wasn't doing that much for us, and Dick got a hold of Senator Tolman again, and he told him so Senator Tolman then researched back in the State House as to where he might find another source, and so he did come up with another $200,000 through the
Travel and Tourism
Agency.
And if you take a look at the house, it's a gorgeous piece of architecture right now. It stands out as one of the nicest in the state in terms of historical significance. It's a big, big benefit to Watertown and for the youngsters of Watertown.
For Watertown Weekly News, I'm Nick Gilchinos.
We encourage all of you to visit the Edmund Fowle House. The Marshall Street home will be opened the 3rd Sunday of each month for tours and educational programs by the Historical Society of Watertown.